Good evening, everyone. I'm Makush Lopinder. It's wonderful having you back with us. Tonight, the Frank Smith extortion and bribery trial pointing to clear evidence of prosecutorial misconduct starting from the police and ending in cabinet. The sentiments of a lead attorney on Smith's defense team who further charges that one leaves the case with a bad taste in one's mouth. With more on what was said in the aftermath of the highly publicized trial, we go now to a report from our Jamila Misek.
The Frank Smith extortion and bribery case is over and done with, at least for now. But according to Queen's Counsel Damian Gomez, a key player on Smith's defense team, in the aftermath, the government should really be calling for a commission of inquiry and heads should roll. You see, Mr. Gomez holds firm that not only was there misconduct on the part of the police and Attorney General's office, but complicity by several agencies of the government and political persecution. It speaks, he said, to a level of political tribalism, malice in its purest form.
This is pure evil, where politicians would get up in the House of Assembly and to a man condemn people whom they know are being brought before the courts. They then orchestrate a series of events designed principally to humiliate those persons and any and all persons associated with them. I mean, is that really what we want in this country?
Smith was arrested in 2017 on charges of extortion and bribery. The allegation was the former Public Hospitals Authority chairman had extorted $60,000 from Barbara Hanna after granting her a contract to clean the critical care block of the Princess Margaret Hospital. Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands later awarded Hanna a second substantive contract that Mr. Gomez says she wasn't even qualified to bid on.
We know that she did not pay VAT. We know she didn't pay national insurance. We know she hadn't paid her business license fees, and that there was no settlement between the financial secretary and her in relation to these matters. And we know that that settlement came about in June 2018. That is an evidence that we had to go to court in the Supreme Court and get a Supreme Court order to have it produced.
Now, throughout the trial, Smith maintained his innocence. After months on end of testimony from several witnesses, including Hanna, Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands, and National Security Minister Marvin Dames, the former PLP MP was acquitted of all criminal charges. But Mr. Gomez says at this point, no amount of money can properly and appropriately vindicate a person who has been maligned in the way Frank Smith has by the Minutes administration.
He can sue the government, but I mean, money. This is beyond money.
Yes.
His picture made the Times in Bombay.
In Bombay.
Yes. His reputation as a financial services provider has been internationally ruined. That is the effect of it. $2-3 million. What does that mean if you don't have your name? And that really is where we are.
Now, the government has indicated plans to appeal Friday's ruling, but according to Mr. Gomez, at this point, no notice of appeal has been served.
They may find that we are more aggressive in attempting to have grounds of appeal struck out as being frivolous, vexatious, and an abusive process of the Court of Appeal.
Reporting for JCN News, I'm Jamila Misek.
Well, as reported, there's a call for Carl Bethel, Dr. Dwayne Sands, and Marvin Dames to all vacate their posts or be fired as cabinet ministers for their roles in the Frank Smith extortion and bribery trial. Mr. Dames, commenting on the issue yesterday, deemed it comical. But according to opposition leader Philip Davis, the joke's on him.
I assure him it's no laughing matter. He has shamed this country by his conduct. His doubling down is a further disgrace in the face of a judicial finding against him.
Now, as for the F&M's charge that Mr. Davis examined the facts of his own corruption-ridden record, the PLP leader fired back with this.
This is not about brave Davis. This is not about the PLP. This is about a crooked and corrupt interference by the F&M in the administration of justice. It's quite simple. Marvin Dames and Dwayne Sands should resign.
Yes.
If they do not resign, they should be fired.
The PLP leader contends that based on the evidence presented in the trial, several questions must be answered.
Who gave orders for the call logs to be doctored or falsified? Why did Sands bypass the board and cabinet to award the cleaning lady a contract after they charged Smith? How did the case against Smith continue even after Ms. Hannah said in court she didn't want to make a complaint and that she was giving evidence against her will? Who forced Mrs. Hannah to go through with this case?
Cabinet discussing several projects for Grand Bahama's economic growth and expansion. Cabinet ministers actually left the capital for Grand Bahama on Monday evening for an information meeting to announce Carnival's plans for a mega port on the eastern tip of that island. The project's construction phase is expected to lead to employment for 1,000 people. This coupled with indirect job opportunities. Now, if all goes as planned, the project's completion date is pegged at late 2021. While Cabinet, which met in Grand Bahama today, discussed a number of investors for Grand Bahama, what didn't apparently make it on the agenda was the Oban deal, the $5.5 billion oil refinery and storage facility slated for East Grand Bahama, which has had more than a share of snags along the way. In fact, when asked this morning if the matter would be addressed in Cabinet, the Prime Minister said he's not talking nonsense but futuristic things. Well, here's what the opposition leader had to say about that during his party's monthly briefing this morning.
He probably has had his Damascus moment now and recognized that the Oban affair, which he authored himself and he misled Parliament on with impunity, I say, is now nonsense in his words now, which he said to the press. And that Damascus moment, I think, has revealed to him that what he did was nonsense, that he was engaged in nonsense. And now that he's recognized his nonsense, don't trouble him with that nonsense.
At last report, the government was looking to make some extensive changes to the Oban Heads of Agreement, following a series of missteps as acknowledged by the Prime Minister. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.